Onewheel was created to recreate the feeling of riding powder on a snowboard, and part of that experience involves carving. In this video, we're going to teach you how to carve on a Onewheel. Before we dive into learning how to carve on a Onewheel, it's recommended that you have a basic foundation of turning on a Onewheel. This means you're fairly confident with your heel and toe side edges, keeping your balance point throughout the turn, and maintaining momentum throughout the turn. If you've got all that down, then let's rock and roll. Carving is a technique used widely across board sports, and most people are familiar with carving in relation to a ski or snowboard edge cutting into the snow while turning. Although a Onewheel doesn't have a physical edge, the tire acts as such when performing a similar maneuver over terrain. Why would you want to carve instead of going straight? There are many practical reasons, but at least for me, it's the feeling that I get from carving. Carving allows a rider to be creative with how they ride, find their own line, and if you're lucky, you can achieve the ultimate flow state. Here we have a visual overview of the carving sequence. First, we have the fall line. This is a representation of where you are in time and space and the fastest way from point A to point B. It also indicates where you'll transition your edge from heel to toe or toe to heel while connecting carves. Step 1, the beginning. Step 2, the middle. And step 3, the end. Before you begin to initiate your carve, find your carving stance. Start by standing in a comfortable athletic stance with your feet in the middle of the foot pads. This means relax, bend your knees, and keep your shoulders square over your board with your weight centered over the wheel. Having your rear foot closer to the wheel will allow you to make tighter turns at slower speeds. But as you increase your speed, a tight stance can lead to instability at certain points of your carve, especially at the middle of your carve or the apex of your carve. As you increase the speed you're carving at, try widening your stance for a more controlled and predictable carve. This will provide a wider base and allow you to be more smooth with your movement. It's important to keep in mind that aside from your stance, other factors such as the tire you're riding, PSI, and foot pads will all play a role in how your board feels in carves. A lot of this is personal preference, and as you progress, you'll figure out what setup works best for you with how you're intending to ride. With all this information, now let's put it to practice. Step 1, the beginning. As you initiate the carve, lean slightly towards your intended direction, and while keeping your knees bent and keeping your shoulders and hips in line with the board. Use your rear foot to help steer your carve in relation with your body. As referenced earlier, where you place your foot on the rear foot pad will influence how snappy, stable, and controlled your carve will be. A common mistake here is having your chest wide open towards the front of your board instead of in line with it. This often leads to riders using their hips in a rotational manner rather than their whole body in a rocking way. This can lead to a loss of momentum and balance. Step 2, the middle. A proper setup in the beginning of your carve should make this a consistent motion. Maintaining speed always makes it easier to keep your balance as you hit the apex of your lean. This should feel like you're rebounding back to the fall line rather than needing to accelerate out of your carve onto the next edge. Step 3, the ending. To finish the carve, slightly unbend your knees to prepare for a smooth edge transition over the fall line. This allows you to bring your balance back to center and roll onto the opposite edge easier than if your knees were still fully bent. Once you cross your fall line, repeat the process. It may seem like a lot of intricacies for such a simple maneuver, but believe me, breaking it down in your mind and practicing these steps will help you develop a proper base for carving on a Onewheel, and hopefully eliminate poor technique that can develop otherwise. Now I know y'all have plenty of tips for carving on a Onewheel that I probably didn't go over, so help me out, Onewheel Nation, and drop some knowledge in the comments below for those who are eager to learn. Thanks for watching, don't forget to subscribe, and we'll be coming out with plenty of more how-tos and more Onewheel knowledge-based type videos. See you in the next one, and shred on.